GM, I hope everybody can hear me here. Welcome, Happy New Year. This is our first YGG Global Hangouts of the year. I'm happy to be back. I hope everyone's recharged from the holidays and spent a bunch of time with family, friends, and got as much of that out of the way as we dive back into the new year. It's going to be a big jam-packed year with so much going on here. I know from the YGG side, we've been cooking quite a bit up. And we will kind of go over that throughout the year as we dive into more details on future Hangouts. I'm, of course, Fallen Corpses. I will be your host, as always, today. Unfortunately, AC is out. He's not feeling so well, so hopefully he is feeling better as soon as possible so my co-host can come and join us next weekend as we dive into some more crazy games for you guys. On that note, we will be joined today for a little something different. It's not necessarily a game, but actually a VC fund that's going to be open to all. So this is a little bit of a different stream. I hope you bear with us here as we dive into it. We have our amazing friends from Renegade Ventures who will be joining us to kind of explain how this fund works and how you guys can get involved. It's really exciting because it is open to everyone, which is not typical for VCs. But on that note, I will bring them on stage. So we're joined by Shannon here and KH. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, Fallen.
Hi, Fallen.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Let me just change that up because that's not so pretty. There we go. So on that note, guys, Shannon, KH, I know you guys have a kind of a slideshow to go over the venture itself. So I will pop that up here and you guys, the stage is yours. So please explain to us what Renegade Ventures is and, you know, how you guys plan to make this thing work. KH or Shannon, whatever one of you guys wants to start us off.
So thanks so much, Fallen, for having us on this AMA today. Really appreciate it, and it's such an honor to be on the first community call for this community. We're Renegade Ventures, Shannon and KH. We're going to just quickly introduce ourselves and then jump into what we're going to be doing. So I'm Shannon. I've had more than 15 years experience as an early stage investor, Google operator and exec, and a startup founder. I actually invest with a fund called Lyric Ventures, where I lead seed stage investments in blockchain and gaming. My background is largely in mobile gaming and consumer applications. I established and led the Google Play's business in EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and oversaw a decade of growth on the platform. And prior to that, I was a startup founder as
well. Hi everyone, my name is KH. I worked for the Google around 15 years since 2006, and it was 2013 then when I was starting the business of the Google Play in South Korea. So I was heading up the business for 10 years, and actually the Shannon also joined the teams at the same time and was running the EMEA for 10 years. And as you may know, actually, Korea is the country of gaming, right? So it's very big in gaming. So it was a great opportunity for me to work with, various type of and large size of the gaming companies in Korea and in Japan and US and global. So that was actually the great basis and then network when I left Google and then joined the VC firm called Blowcore in South Korea. So I established an investment alliance with the large gaming companies in Web2 to make a good investment into the Web3 together. So the companies including the Krafton, NCSoft, Netmarble, Nexon from Korea, and Bandai Namco, Konami, SNK, and the Lilith Games from China, and then 2K from US. So that's us. And then would like to start with what we are going to do at the Renegade Ventures. So after I left Google Play, joining the Blowcore, one of the projects that I was working on was to establish the VC fund in Singapore. And actually, it was great that the VCs having a lot of opportunities that I have not known. In the Web3, most of the strong projects are backed by the very good VCs, right? But the thing that I realized was that I didn't know about the opportunities. And then at the Google Play, I have worked with many startups, which was very successful. And then I realized that founders, they got really rich when the business was success. And the other one who was also very successful was actually VCs. So the projects like the PUBG and the Roblox, those are the projects that the VCs making a lot of money from the early stage investment. But so this is actually problems that we realized. So normally the access to this type of deals are very much limited to VCs or some insiders or just some inner circle people. So this is the problems that we recognized and we want to resolve. And secondly, it is similar to making some good investment into NFTs or some things, but the LPs who are making investment into the fund, they actually want to make a lot of money from that investment, but also in other hands, they hate making investment into the fund because their money should be locked up into the fund up to 8 to 10 years throughout the fund life cycle. So that is another the problems in this fund business. And the last one is the VC fund. Actually, they're providing some what they're doing with the LPs, but it's not like real-time things. So some more transparency, some more real-time the reporting is some things that we think do better. So these are the problems with the VC asset class these days we identified, and we are going to solve these problems. The how is tokenized fund. So what it is when investors are making investment into the fund, then we are issuing the token and give the token to them in the pro rata base. So for example, our Renegade fund, actually we are starting with a very small fund, like $10 million. This is our target. And also we are going to issue 10 million token. So if a investor is making into our fund like $1,000, then we are going to give that investor 1,000 token. So it is actually our solutions. Then how it is going to work is that because this is a token, right? So anyone can buy this token. So having a token means that it is to own a piece of the fund. It's kind of share or stocks, right? So we think that because anyone can buy this token, so it is going to democratize, this fund business. And even better is that normally when we are getting some investment from the angels or individual investors, actually the minimum check size is like 200K or 300K US dollars, which is very, very, I'll say, expensive. But we set the minimum the check size is like just $1,000. So we are going to democratize this VC access by setting this, the $1,000 the minimum check size, and this is token, so anyone can buy this token. And secondly, because this is token, this is a tradable. So if LPs who need a cash, during this the fund life cycle, or unfortunately case who does not like our investment strategy or something, then actually they can their money back by trading the token, right? And what we are going to do is that we are going to share some information about our investment or our portfolio. For example, when the one of our portfolio company went to close the next round investment, saying that we invested into the company at the valuation of 10 mil, but fortunately, actually that project went to close the next round at the valuation of 30 mils. We are going to share that information with the LPs. Or if that is a Web3 project and the token is get listed on CEX, like Binance, then we are going to share the information with LPs so that LPs, they can understand about the value of the token. So when they trade, let's say at the purchase, maybe just one token is equivalent to around $1, but they can calculate, so they can understand. Oh, now my token is increased, the value increased like $2 or $3. So they can get some capital gains from our funded token. The last thing is that because our fund is tokenized fund, so anyone who's seeing the wallet through the Etherscan or something, they will be able to know that where we are going, where we are investing in at the real time. So we are providing some much more clear and transparent the fund information with the LPs, which is something we really think valuable. So our vision is that we want to create an egalitarian VC fund. So we want as many investors as possible. So the second, we can also create a community of investors. So let's say we have in the extreme case, every LP is writing a $1,000 check, and then because our fund is like a 10 million US dollars, at the then maybe we will have a 10,000 the investors, right? We see these guys as a community, and a community that is supporting the really high, the talented startups, right? So who could be some early users of this the startups? I think that is very valuable. The last thing is, we think that the VC could be a scalable the business, and also scalable product. From the fundraise to supporting the startups with the communities. So I think this is the vision we want to realize. So the Shannon and I, even though this is our first fund, but at our previous company, me at the Blowcore and then the Shannon at the Really Ventures, we made a couple of investment at the seed round investment. So there are three categories: AI, blockchain, and gaming. That's where our the Renegade Ventures Fund is going to invest in it. So there are AI three project. In the blockchain, we made a seed round investment in the car or auto. In the gaming, the pixels, in the mystery societies, and etc. So I would like to share. We would like to share this type of investment opportunity with you guys. And because maybe you guys, I think that because our fund is tokenized fund, so you naturally think that, oh, this is a some on the Web3 VC fund. But again, we are not only making investment into the Web3, but also into some non Web3 like AI or some Web2 gaming project. So you can think of PUBG as a good example. So we have a good deal pipeline. So we would like to share this opportunity with our future investors.
Cool. I'm just gonna pop in quick here, KH, and kind of touch on some of that before we dive in further here. So really exciting to see, like, there's some very familiar names here to me. Obviously, Pixels. I know Heidi and Luke. We met them at the Web3 Summit there. I'm assuming you guys have done pretty well if you made a seed round investment in Pixels, because Pixels has been killing it, as most of our community knows. Same with Mr. Society and D Labs. I'm actually surprised to see Sweat there, which is, I believe that's the move to earn one, right? Which was doing quite well as well. So you guys have a pretty diverse portfolio. And another thing to touch on there is you guys have obviously very good connection to a lot of these companies, and obviously ones that are up and coming, which is really important for a VC. And I just wanted to touch on that because I think a lot of the community, at least on the stream right now, is probably not super familiar with what VCs do. Like you said, it's usually been pretty gated to angel investors, which are people with large checkbooks, right? Like that's the idea. If you want to make seed round investments, not only do you have to have a large checkbook, like you said, we were talking anywhere from 50 to 200K plus USD to get into these. But on top of that, even if you have the money, you got to know somebody. You got to have the credentials to get into these things. And a lot of times that's very difficult to do, right? You usually have to be at networking events or know somebody, a friend of a friend who gets introduced, which just doesn't happen for the average person, right? So that low barrier of entry of 1,000 USD essentially to get 1,000 tokens in this fund is like you said, really lowering that barrier of entry to allow most people to get in. And also there'll be transparency. So I wanted to also touch on that. Obviously, I'll be posting this online. Will you guys have some sort of Discord or somewhere for the community to kind of come in, ask questions about the fund itself, see what you're investing? Obviously, you're going to put that on the blockchain for people to see. But let's say maybe they want to ask you directly in a Discord or something. Is that something that you guys are planning on setting up?
Actually, we are thinking about what would be the most efficient way to communicate with our LPs. And the first step would be to provide some up-to-date information on some changes on our portfolio. So when we get definitely we are opening up our some telegrams or some our the Twitter things, so that we can get some direct messages and the questions. And then definitely we are thinking about some having some more efficient ways to have some more scalable type of communications with our LPs.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, that's definitely one of the questions I already see the community kind of asking. Is there a Discord for more information? On that note, if people haven't noticed, on the bottom we do have a scrolling form. I'll post that in the Discord as well. This is not a commitment to invest, but you guys are trying to collect some information on possible LPs that want to participate, and what the best way to communicate with them is. Obviously, maybe in that form you want to have maybe you want to add a section for what your preferred communication point is. I'm not sure if that's already in there. But as we go on with the rest of the presentation here, guys, I will post that in the Discord as well as the fun outline itself. So even after this presentation is over, you guys will be able to go look at the outline, dive deeper into it. And again, if you have more questions, you can reach out to myself and I can pass that off to Shannon or KH, or I'm sure eventually you guys will figure out a proper means of communication for people that want to reach out and get back to you. So yeah, just wanted to touch on that as we dive back into it. So KH, Shannon, the floor is yours again.
Thank you for that. So actually, this is just examples of how much the VCs are enjoying their some fruit from their early investment or seed round investment from a really good project. So because you guys are familiar with this type of project, so you can imagine. Shannon?
So I get to talk next about our investment thesis and where what we're investing in. The three key sectors that KH mentioned earlier are AI, blockchain, and gaming. In AI, we're really looking at investing in the future ecosystem of AI agents. So really, it's about that segment of AI agents, agentic frameworks, orchestration, and so forth that would deliver value for enterprises and consumers. So we're going to be looking across the AI agent tech stack, starting from specialized foundation models to infrastructure to build and deploy AI agents, the AI agents themselves, as well as platforms to develop, deploy, and distribute AI agents. So that is that kind of space that we're looking at in AI. For blockchain, I'm sure a lot of people in this community and this call are already familiar with that space. I really was looking at investing in the key components of the blockchain ecosystem: data security, ownership analysis, value exchange, decentralized physical infrastructure, networks, and consumer applications. And consumer applications part is something worth emphasizing on our side because both KH and I come from sort of the broader consumer application global platform space. So that's an area that we look very closely at and are looking at actively sourcing deals. We also look specifically at projects that are leveraging the fundamental innovations of blockchain, have scalability, sustainability, and solid business models, the principles by which we look at projects in the blockchain space. And then in gaming, we both KH and I have a lot of experience working with game developers around the world for 10, 12 years now. We're looking for exceptional games with strong core game loops, monetization mechanics, and also games as platforms. So that means things like Minecraft, Roblox, and so forth. And then teams, especially looking for teams with proven experience and capability in building outstanding games, user acquisition, and running multi-year live operations. You'll notice that in these areas, we're not exclusively investing in Web3. So the blockchain part certainly is. We will be looking at areas where there's intersection between, say, crypto and AI and crypto gaming, but we'll also be looking at Web2 and AI investments and Web2 gaming investments. How we select startups to invest in, I think three key pillars there. One is we're very thesis driven. That means we tend to do a lot of research into particular areas to invest in so that we can clarify the value propositions there. We also publish that research regularly, and then we identify specific opportunities and criteria for investment. So for example, in the AI space, right, we might be looking at applications, we might be looking specifically at AI agentic framework and so on. Then we do fairly in-depth research into those spaces, clarify those propositions, and find the specific opportunities in that space, in those spaces to invest in. We're very founder focused. We've spoken to, connected to a lot of founders in 15 years so far. And so we're looking for very resilient founders, those with clear vision and refined methodology for execution, and the ability to grow and leverage strong community. As we all know, that's really important, especially in the blockchain space. And finally, I think most importantly, this really covers how we are approaching the space and how our thesis is quite unique compared to other VC funds. We focus on what we consider platform potential. So we're really looking at products that can become themselves platforms and ecosystems, right? Or startups that can establish a niche in a platform or ecosystem, or services that enable a platform or ecosystem to be successful. The reason we have this focus is because, again, our background is from one of the largest platforms in the world, Google Play. So we kind of understand like what it takes for a platform to succeed, what are the components needed for it to work, and what are the kinds of things that are successful within platform kind of business. So in that context, we also look for teams with very robust engineering capabilities that can build and operate platforms sustainably. And that's one of the key focus areas that we look to invest in. Why invest with us? I think it's really about our unique experience and our experience and unique insight. We've been builders and leaders of one of the largest platforms in the world, like I mentioned before, Google Play. We have a deep understanding of what it takes for an underlying technology to evolve into a successful platform or ecosystem, and what it takes to have this rich application layer that scales to billions of users, and all the investments that we make. That's what we're trying to look for in terms of the end game. We also have a very strong and comprehensive sort of network and deal pipeline. We have this extensive global network of partners across various sectors that we collaborate with for deal sourcing and co-investment. And so that gives us some access to some of the most competitive deals in our focus areas. It's just in just three broad areas. One is we have a lot of venture capital partners that we work closely with, so we share deals across with them. Quite a lot of well-known names there, especially in the gaming space, for example, Bitcraft, Delphi Digital, and so forth. We've done co-investments with them before. We also look at quite a lot of deal flow from non-venture capital side, so that includes blockchain ecosystems and foundations, so AVAX, IMX, and so forth. We have very close relationships with them, and we see a lot of new projects coming out of those spaces. And also things like accelerators and incubators in the Web2 space. So, for example, I've been a mentor at Techstars for almost 5-6 years. So every year I see a lot of the very early deal flow for some of the newer startups coming out of those accelerators. And then on the gaming side, KH worked while he was at Blowcore, set up what was called the Blockchain Gaming Alliance. Core Alliance. KH, what was it called again? I'm sorry. Core Alliance, right?
Yes.
Core Alliance, which is a group of the largest game publishers across APAC and the world, and they look at a lot of new deals together, look at strategic investments and so forth. And also in our experience at Google Play, we've been working with a lot of large game publishers across the world. So we see either teams that have spun out of those game developers and game studios who are creating new games, or some of those publishers are looking at deals that they're interested in as well. So I think in summary, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to set up a new type of investment vehicle with benefits of tokenization, right? We spoke a little bit about this before. We're trying to provide VC level access to a wider range of investors to get access to early stage deals. We're trying to provide enhanced liquidity for investors through tokenization and better transparency into the portfolio transactions, into the net asset value of the fund through the blockchain. But at the same time, we're also trying to create a very large community of investors with very diverse expertise that can support the portfolio companies that we invest in to become early users and also to increase their chances of success. And I think this point is the thing that really differentiates us from VC funds, because most VC funds, they just want to have like 10, 15 LPs and just manage that, and just like they take large tickets from each of them. We're really looking to say, we want to democratize access to VC. We want to create this large community of investors and see how much more powerful that can be for the fund, for the community, for the portfolio companies that we invest in. And so ultimately that feeds into this vision of ours of disrupting the venture capital industry, operating VC as a scalable business through efficient fundraising and a new kind of fund flow. This is just a very rough, a very high-level view of what our fund strategy is, meaning like how we invest in startups. We will invest at the pre-seed to seed stage, so that's very early stage. Our typical check size would be between 100K to 500K. That means like what we would be investing into a startup, somewhere between 100K to 500K, typically around 250K sweet spot. We're probably looking at about 30 investments over the lifetime of the fund. And we'll be investing across a range of instruments: equity, SAFE, SAFT, token warrants, tokens themselves. We'll probably focus more on new investments rather than follow-on investments, and sectors will be AI, blockchain. And then we don't need to go into too much detail in this, but this is the investment terms for investors who want to invest in our funds. Our target fund size is $10 million. We're going to release 10 million tokens. minimum investment will be $1,000, so we'll make that as accessible as possible. We're going to be tokenizing through a launchpad, and then we're collaborating with a token trading platform so that's regulated as a real asset trading platform, so that investors can have liquidity on the token that they own. And then we'll work with established custody providers. The fund lifetime, we're looking at about 4 years to deploy the funds, and then with an option to extend the fund lifetime for another 2 years, 2 times, so up to 8 years in terms of total fund lifetime. The management fee and interest and carried interest are very standard in the VC industry, so it's 2% management fee, 20% carried interest, which is a profit share for the general partners. And in terms of redemption, investors can either be trading their token to see returns from their investment, or at the end of the lifetime of the fund, if they're holding the token, they have rights to their share of the return from the fund at the end of the lifetime.
Yeah, can we just go back there? I think a lot of people are probably not going to be familiar with this. This is very typical of a standard fund thing, but maybe for people that aren't familiar with like fund lifetime or redemption, could you guys kind of dive into what that is? Like, so obviously the fund, from what I understand, you guys are looking to operate it for about 8 years at max. At the end of that, what happens? So like, does the fund, like, redemption happens and then everybody cashes out, or is there, if the fund is doing really well, would the fund continue, or like how does that work?
Thanks for asking that question. I think it's really helpful to talk through that. So what we are offering here is what's called a closed-ended fund, which means that you raise a certain amount of money, right? And then you deploy that, or you make the investments over a certain number of years. So it's a $10 million fund. You don't want to use up all that money very quickly, like in the first 2 years or whatever it is, because you want to be able to see how the industry shapes up, what are the new trends that come up over a number of years. So you want to sort of spread that deployment over some years. Typically, for a fund like ours, we would be looking at doing investments over about a 4-year time frame, sometimes a little bit more if there's potentially more interesting deals coming down in a few years' time. That sort of thing, more interesting industry trends. But typically, we're looking at making the investments over a 4-year period. For a VC fund, there's this thing called harvesting. So you have to figure out how to exit from some of these investments that you've done. So you might be holding equity in a company, you might be waiting for the company to IPO, to be acquired, or you might be looking to sell the fund might be looking to sell their share in a company to another investor further down the line when the valuation has increased. So you also need a few more years to what's called harvest some of these investments. Because of the nature of investment, some of that harvesting can be through secondary sales. Some of these companies might be acquired, or they might have listed a token, and then they need to sell those tokens to make the money. So the additional extensions for up to 4 years is largely for harvesting, but maybe also some additional deployment if there's something investments later in the cycle. Now, at the end of the 8 years, what typically happens is the fund is considered closed. It's finished investments. It's sold off its investments and made a return. Then we need to return the money and the profits to the investors. So for that, the investors who are holding the token at the time, right? We will work through the tokenization platform that we have to then, when you have you can redeem your token for a share of the total profits of the fund.
Gotcha. Right.
And
Totally
along the way,
understand.
if on the other hand, if investors want to exit early, they can also sell their token on a regulated real asset trading platform, to other investors who might want to exit, so they can exit earlier if they want. So.
Yeah, which is again something that doesn't happen quite often, from what I understand in VC. Like usually you're locked in, right? Like
Yes.
you're not allowed to exit out early if you want. That's usually not an option. You're on the roller coaster for the whole fun life. Like you don't get to jump off early, which is I think something different, because life does happen, right? And for a lot of people, $1,000 might not seem a lot to some people, but for other people that's a lot of money, especially in places like the Philippines or stuff like that. So this is very much a change on the status quo, as you'll say, for typical VC, from what I understand. I kind of just want to dive into maybe like a little bit of an example for people. So I'm going to just fib numbers here, but a lot of our community is familiar with Pixels. When Pixels was starting out, before they even released the Pixels token, there was an opportunity, again, not for the general community, but for VCs to get in the seed round. And essentially what VCs would do is they would write a check for, I don't know, let's say $100,000, and they would get Pixels at a a nominal rate. Maybe that was, I don't know, 1 cent or 2 cents or whatever. But that was essentially how these VCs work. So $100,000, you're getting Pixel at a cent, you're getting millions of Pixels tokens. The caveat to that as VC is you are obviously locked in. Oh, perfect. Yeah, you have a seed valuation right there, right? But you're locked into that till the token releases. And then as Shannon was saying is, you have an idea of when that token is going to release, but you have no idea. You're essentially betting that whatever you bought that token at, so let's say you got, the deal was, 100K, you get 100K worth of Pixels token at 1 cent. You're hoping when Pixels launches that it's above 1 cent, right? If it's above 1 cent, you're making multiples of returns on your seed investment. And that's essentially how a fund works. And then if you are a seed investor, at the end of that, you can then sell those Pixel tokens to harvest those rewards. Right, Shannon? Right, Cage?
Yeah.
Getting that right? So that's kind of the idea of how VCs work, if you guys aren't familiar. And that's essentially what Shannon and Cage will be doing with, obviously not Pixels because they're past seed round, but new and upcoming games as well as AI or other opportunities within the space. So just wanted to put some context in there with kind of, again, a real world example, but not a real world example with numbers. So hopefully that makes sense and I'm not trying to confuse people more. But from what I understand from VC fund sides, that's how it works. Correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Thanks for illustrating. I
Cool.
think the idea with VC is that as an investor into a VC fund, right? You're kind of leveraging the VC's network and knowledge and experience to try and make a number of investments across a number of different possible opportunities, just so that you increase your chances of some percentage of those becoming breakout hits like Pixel.
Yeah, which is another good point, right? You're essentially spreading your opportunities because a lot of people, I've heard from a lot of other VCs that, again, you might invest in 10, but as long as one of those 10 takes off, all the other 9 could be duds or do, break even. But if you hit 1 out of that 10 that does really, really well, let's say like Pixels, it could make up for them in multiples, right? The fund could do ridiculously well.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why you guys are spreading this out over 4 years and taking that time, is you don't want to put everything up front, right? Certain opportunities as the industry evolves, especially with AI, right? Or gaming, there's going to be other opportunities throughout the 4 years. It's not all going to be within the first year. There's going to be other chances or opportunities. And you guys don't want to essentially blow all your powder right at the beginning. You want to have the chance to deploy that capital as opportunities present themselves.
Yeah. And I think the idea, the point about diversification is a really relevant one, because I think within crypto, we're all very familiar with how volatile that is with bull and bear cycles. I think the idea here, because we're also investing outside of crypto, is that it presents an opportunity for crypto-focused investors to potentially diversify their yield outside of crypto. So if you made some money in the bull market and you're thinking about how you might want to hold that money, you can continue to make a ton of money within the bull cycle. But as it starts to decline into a bear cycle, and you know that there are going to be these cycles, you want to also potentially hedge your bets and make investments into areas outside of Web3, like AI and so forth, that can potentially go into like 100x returns, because you're working with a very new technology and new opportunities. And so VC fund investments are given an opportunity in that sense to provide diversification outside of for crypto investors.
Cool. Another thing I just wanted to touch on, if you go back to that final slide that we were looking at, you just move forward here. One more, where it has the real world trading platform. I think it was a few slides forward. Yeah. Keep going.
You mean right at the end, or?
Yeah. I think it was closer to the end. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that one. So I kind of wanted to touch on here because usually, again, these funds are heavily regulated, as they should be, right? So I don't think a lot of our communities familiar with what a real world asset trading platform is. So could you guys touch on that a bit?
Yeah, so the idea of the real world asset is actually by leveraging blockchain technologies, it allows users to own a piece of some real world asset, like it could be buildings, or it could be wines, or it could be business. So actually the stock market, the company stock is a very good examples, right? So um, because actually this is a real world asset, like the company stock or the buildings or some things, actually it is heavily regulated. But in nature, actually, it's just a token. So in real world asset type of thing, or STO, it requires some issuers to have some proper some requirement or license or etc. And from investor point of view, actually they need to the KYC. So that is some major difference. But the how to buy the token and then trade the token is not different from what we have done so far.
Exactly.
Anything to add, Shannon?
Yeah, so RWA real assets it's quite a very meaningful incremental innovation that I think
Yeah.
blockchain provides to the financial industry space. So real assets, like Kate mentioned, are things like real estate, like shares in a company, like an actual physical company, or also sort of investments in a fund, like a hedge fund or a VC fund, right? Because there's something operating in the real world that's sort of contributing value to that, and that's in contrast to, for example, sort of pure crypto assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so forth, right? So what's happening in the RWA space is that people are using blockchain to basically tokenize a real world asset. So, for example, a piece of land, you can tokenize that into smaller investments, and then people can buy the tokens representing those real assets and potentially either hold them as the value of that land appreciates, or trade them as the value of that appreciates. So we're applying the same concept to a VC fund. As the value of the fund appreciates, that token is also tradable. Now, this trading of real assets needs to happen on regulated RWA platforms that are sort of different from things like Binance and normal sort of centralized exchanges, because they point to a specific asset in the real world. You must be able to validate and verify that there's really this actual asset existing, right? And its value depends on these particular changes in the real world, and then your token price can be linked to that. So there are very specific kinds of exchanges called real asset exchanges that are licensed by governments in different jurisdictions to enable trading of real assets in the city.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. So I just wanted to touch on that again, because I'm sure a lot of community isn't familiar with this. I have a little bit of depth because I'm in a regulated space as well. But I really wanted to drive this point home is that you guys are going through regulated proper channels and launch pads, right? So it's not like you guys are going to run off with fund money and do something with, I'm not trying to call yourselves bad actors, but obviously there are bad actors in the space. And I just want to drive home that point that you guys are going through all the regulated proper channels. So it's not like you guys could run off even if you wanted to. Like it's all very much regulated, especially, in North America, where funds like these, they need to have an idea of where the money's going that flows in, who's flowing the money in, and where that money's flowing out to, right? So what kind of investments you're making, so on and so forth. So this is all very regulated, all very transparent. It's not like the typical crypto thing where, it's very anonymous and stuff like that. It's regulated. You guys are, going through all the proper channels like a normal VC fund would. The only difference is you're giving people the opportunity to get in for a much lower cost of entry.
Correct.
Right. So I just wanted to drive home that point before we continue here with the slides. So again, I'll hand it back over to you guys, and we'll continue.
Cool. Well, that's actually the last slide. If you want to flip over, Cage, the last one.
Oh, perfect. So I was kind of diving into it.
Yeah, just our finishing slide. Really, we really want to be. Our vision really is about disrupting venture capital here. So we hope people are interested to join us on this journey and innovation. Anyone who's interested to invest, there is a link running across the ticker at the bottom of the screen at bit.ly/invest-in-rv. And then we're also providing a link to our fund outline, which is a lot more detail about our investment thesis and where we invest and how we're investing, which is bit.ly/rv-outline.
Yeah, perfect. So on that note, guys, as you can see, we have the forum here scrolling across the screen. Obviously, this is not a commitment to invest, right, Shannon, right, KH? This is just essentially you guys collecting some info if you guys do need to reach out to these people on how they can invest in the fund once you guys have your launch pad and everything set up.
Exactly. This is just to collect interest for people who are interested to find out more information. We're going to get a sense of how much you think you might want to invest if you do want to invest, so that we can reserve allocation for people, but it's not a commitment.
Exactly. And obviously, as we were talking before, like what forms of communication people want. If everybody really wants a Discord, I'm sure you guys will spin up a Discord, stuff like that. On top of that, I will have this all posted and pinned in our AMA channel in the YGG Discord. So if you guys, for whatever reason, can't find this information, you can hop into the YGG Discord and pull that up there. I believe your outline is kind of like a white paper. So if people want to dive in deeper to more details into the fund, that is definitely the place to do it. Fill out that form there. Again, obviously, this is not financial advice. VCs can do really, really well. Funds can do really, really well, but there is no guarantee. I think we should just put that out there to make sure people are safe. But yeah, if you guys have questions for Shannon or KH about the fund or anything like that, now would be the time to post it, either in Discord or on the other social channels. I can see it in chat. So if you guys have questions, please post them now. While we wait for those questions to roll in, we have about 10 or 15 minutes or so. I'd love to pick your guys' brain on where you see not only the AI industry going, but maybe the gaming industry and how those two might interact with each other. So, yeah, I will kind of just pass that off to you, and we can kind of free flow for the rest of the session here on some of the exciting things you guys are seeing on the landscape, mainly in AI, and how those might factor into some of the investing decisions that you guys make with the fund.
Maybe I can start. So, as this is not a surprise, and it is already very well known that the gaming companies, actually, this is more some B2B levels, the company levels, some usage of the AI. So, for example, when I met some executive of the large gaming companies in Korea, actually they are using the AI for having only the sketch version of some game stories or some game graphic things, and actually they changed the even organization structure. So they put when you work for a company and there's an organization structure, right? So there's the teams, there's the team lead, and there are team members. What's interesting is that actually this used to be a human, but actually now they replace this with the AI. So actually this is a bit the worrying, but now they are actually making the speed of gaming development is getting faster and faster by bringing some more AI resources to the company. So actually this is the one thing, and the other one is actually the game. These companies, they are using the AI to do some research on the in-game economies and the gaming designs or gaming mechanics. So I believe Shannon has some one examples of how the AI is being used for the game mechanic things. Shannon?
Yeah, there are a couple of really exciting things that we're starting to see in AI and gaming. I mean, typically you see a lot of a lot of people talk about using AI to just create in-game assets like the imagery, the graphics, the storylines, and things like that. One of the companies that we've been speaking to is looking at using AI to actually create game mechanics. So you can be creating a kind of game environment where the user can kind of almost create new spells within the game. You can say, or let's say it's an RPG game. It's like a little character walking around the screen, and the user can say, I want to be able to create a spell that launches fireballs in 8 different directions, right, and set things on fire. And then that can become part of the game, can become one of the skills that the player has in the game, and that adds a lot more flexibility to game mechanic creation than what we're seeing today in the typical gaming industry. It also creates almost a different level and a different layer of user-generated content. Because today, a lot of user-generated content is essentially game assets, essentially cosmetic items, items and things like that within the game. But if you think about user-generated content that is actually game mechanic, it's actually like specific spells or powers or things like that within the game that you can be using AI within the game to create for your own character. I think that opens up really new and exciting new kinds of games that you could be playing, could be creating. So that's kind of an exciting area for us that we look at in this section between AI and gaming.
Yeah, I think when we start talking about how not only the gaming landscape will change with AI, I think it's very hard to actually visualize what's going to happen. Like, I know a lot of people have been talking about like AI agents, so NPCs that actually have kind of a feel like they're a living person, stuff like that. But I don't think we generally have an idea of exactly how AI is going to change gaming. I know, Shannon, for what you were talking about there, I don't think that's really been talked about too much, about adding novel mechanics into games. I'm going to be surprised on how games kind of set guardrails to that, because obviously if you have a game and people are creating if people are allowed to create their own spells, what's going to stop somebody from like creating a god tier spell that just breaks games, right? I think, although that's been something that game developers have always had to face, right? I'm playing a lot of Path of Exile 2 right now, and obviously there's a lot of game breaking builds. Everybody is coming up with builds that just break games. I know I've been running one of the builds that actually ends up crashing servers and PCs, and they're like, okay, this is a problem, you're casting too many spells, we've got to change something. So I imagine how much more difficult that's going to be if you have AI hand in hand helping kind of create
Interestingly, these things. it could work both ways, because to address that game balancing today, it has been done very manually, very hard-coded by the game developers setting up these guardrails. If you have AI being used to assist to create these things, you can also that AI can also understand what the balance outcome should be, right? And so enable the creation of these things, right, in a way that still works with it. So I think there are many ways and directions you can be leveraging AI to enable this kind of creation while still making the game very, very viable.
Yeah, I can imagine you ask the AI, you're like, hey, create this firebell skill, and then it's like, oh, sorry, we can't do that, it's going to break the game.
Or it would do it, but it would do it in a way that would not break the game. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It will give you a different option. So maybe 8, for whatever reason, 8 fireballs would crash the server. So the max we can do is 5. Or I don't know. But this is exactly the idea of like, we don't know exactly where it's going to be, but yes, there might be stuff that breaks the game, or AI, can do these things. But AI is also going to be able to help set the guardrails and combat stuff a lot quicker than it is generally where you have to wait weeks for a patch. Let's say, in a typical game, as developers figure out, okay, this is what broke, how do I fix, how do I balance it? Now you'll have an AI, in the future that will be able to go, okay, this is the issue that we're facing, I can fix this on the fly, and maybe instead of a week, it will come back to you either instantly or maybe in a couple hours, right? So I think this is kind of the landscape where we're going, and that's just talking about AI for video games. As we dive into how it's going to affect the real world, I know one of the main points that I look at is actually medicine. So I myself am from Canada. We have public healthcare. Unfortunately, one of the problems right now with public healthcare is wait times and diagnosing, right? We have a huge shortage of doctors. There's not as many people going into the profession itself. And diagnosis is one of the key issues with getting proper treatment, right? If you get a misdiagnosis or you don't get a diagnosis in a timely fashion, that can really drastically change how effective that treatment is if you get it at all, right? And I think AI is going to play a big part in democratizing that. So obviously for first world countries or countries that have a decent medical system, have doctors, I think this will provide a large impact. But for the places that don't have that, one AI agent or AI doctor, let's say for some remote village in Africa, could play a huge difference, right? And also bring the cost down to almost nothing, which I think would be pretty game changing, right?
Exactly. I think you present the examples in gaming and in healthcare really cogently. I think the broader sort of framework to think about this in is this idea of AI agents, or agentic AI, right? Basically, the things that are that we give as examples, so to diagnose illness or to create parts of the game, these are actually agents that are performing particular actions, right? Based on certain goals that we set it. And within this sort of future vision of AI agents, you want to be thinking about like, what are the kinds of problems you can pass on to an AI agent to solve, rather than have a human doctor or game developer or whatever it is solve. And I think that's how you sort of make sense of the potential of this AI agent space. Now, one interesting nuance when you think about AI agents in this sense, that you're no longer thinking about AI being used as a tool, like for humans to use as a tool to do something. You're thinking about AI agents as actually just presenting the solution, giving you the solution. So you only need to present the problem, and you set up AI agents to work with each other, to communicate with each other, to come back with an output of the solution. And that becomes a slightly different way of thinking about how you approach problems in healthcare and game development and everything else, than what we previously would have thought about in sort of the B2B SaaS space, where you're using AI as a tool for some human developer or whatever to kind of use to go and do something.
Now, on that note, we've talked about obviously a lot of where we see the positives going for AI. Do you guys have any possible concerns with AI, so bad actors, and how are those concerns being addressed? I think that's obviously another big ticket on there. Is there's obviously endless good things about AI, but obviously there's a lot of concern too around how this will be used, how this should be regulated. Do you guys have any inputs on that, on how you feel about that? Tough question, I know.
There are a few ways to think about that. One is how we set up and create these AI systems and agents. There's a lot of well documented research around bias in training leading to incorrect or biased outcomes and outputs from AI agents. I think that's something to be very, very mindful of and careful about. There are problems and difficulties around ownership of training data, right? I think that's something that the AI industry needs to realistically solve as well. Like maybe the resolution is that there's an acknowledgement that all data out in the world is available for anybody to train on and use freely, right, from a legal perspective, or maybe there's some other kind of ownership framework for training data that leads to incentivization and rewards and so forth. And that's what a lot of some of the crypto AI data availability propositions are looking at. So that's kind of another sort of realistic problem. I think the more sort of sci-fi Terminator problems of AGI taking over the world, that's a little bit further away. I don't think we're really that close to AGI and conscious systems and so forth to really worry about that kind of thing yet. It's always in the back of your mind, but I sort of feel that's a bit of a sci-fi Hollywood problem.
Yeah, I think we've made huge progresses in AI, but I don't think we're anywhere close to AGI at that point. And again, I think a lot of people are pessimistic on the outcome of what happens. They see the worst case. Usually it's not the best case, and usually it's not the worst case. It's right in the middle, right? With what we see. So, obviously fingers crossed that's where it is. KH, I kind of want to just give you a little bit of time before we cut him off here. I think you're more of a gaming background. So in terms of the gaming space, do you see any exciting trends happening within that space itself, whether or not that uses AI or blockchain. In general, just the gaming landscape obviously is going to grow as more gamers come on. Is there anything exciting that you're seeing on the front, as obviously looking for VC to invest, but just as a gamer yourself, probably, is there anything exciting you see?
Still, there are not visible projects, being developed by really talented the producers. So what is clear is that I believe that the really great gaming is being developed by someone who have good experiences in about some successful game project. Or if you see any project by the producer who's not that well known, with a very high chance that guy has an experience in working with really talented producers or experienced producers. So what I am trying to focus on is by talking to some large gaming companies or that gaming producers network, figuring out what is good and what is bad. So I think still it is a bit quiet, to be honest. But it seems like under the waters there are many really good projects that are being developed. And the Web3, actually, I think I really love pixels. I really think that the look is really strong. But it's still it's the Web3 gaming should get some more attentions from the people. But because now the market just turned over to the bull run. So I believe the play to earn that really big homework is because that is being resolved by the look and the pixel teams and other project teams that are looking at the pixels and how they are doing very closely. So when we have some really good some cases like a play to earn, the play and earn, or others, then I think this Web3 game is going to regain that momentum too. And I know that people are really enjoying the pixels and pixel dungeons and the games, and there's some others in Web3 gaming too. So I think it is us who should spread this there's a good news with the game some gamers who are not who are not having some interest in Web3 gaming.
Got it. Yeah, I think play to earn really had its upside a couple years back there with the last bull run, and obviously NFTs in general have kind of left a bad taste in a lot of traditional gamers psyche from what they see. They saw a lot of scams, stuff like that. I think we're finally on that track where that stigma is starting to slowly dissipate, and that we're actually having a lot of games now that are really good, like Pixels, that are pushing it forward again. So
Yep.
We'll see how that space continues as we go forward. Obviously, here at YGG, we're very hopeful that the space is going to continue to grow. I think, again, once that stigma kind of disappears, once the bad actors have been weeded out, and as you said, more traditional studios that have a reputation come in and are supported, I think we'll get that, and hopefully this bull run is one of those cases here. Fingers crossed. But we will see how that goes. I think proof is in the pudding with what we had our YPS event in the Philippines, where we had a lot of our game partners come out. I think we're finally starting to see some seriously good AAA titles. I don't know if you've been playing, but I've been playing Off the Grid as well, and they're doing a great job. Yeah. So, the future seems really bright for not only blockchain gaming, but just the gaming space as a whole, which I think eventually we're going to get to where it's not blockchain gaming, it's just gaming, right? It's just integrated as normal. So yeah, on that note, Cage, sorry.
I think your point is really spot on. And I think, but still it will take some more time for really good Web2 gaming studios to get into the Web3. So we should wait for that. But as you mentioned, if we if there are really great cases of the Web3 gaming, then I think that will accelerate their pivot into the Web3 too. So finger crossed.
Fingers crossed, exactly.
Mm.
So we are at the top of the hour, guys. I will hand the floor back off to you. Any closing thoughts or remarks in regards to the fun that you want to tell the community here?
Maybe I have a one, and maybe the Shannon, maybe you can do that after that. I still remember the time when I was really shocked that the people who made a very early investment into Solana in 2017 or 16, I'm not sure, but actually there's some event by some Google employees for themselves, and people, Google people who started their own business, they come to that event and they do a demo day, and one of those projects was actually Solana. So the Google employee who attended that event, actually they had a chance to look at the very early stage of the Solana project. So and then Shannon and I, we think that in the AI, for example, we are seeing that kind of big innovations that we have seen for the past 10 years in the blockchain, and with this bull run in this crypto market, I think this innovations in AI part has also started. So thinking about our members and the YGG community's really bright futures, definitely it should be I believe there should be some diverse portfolio. One in definitely blockchain, and the other one is another really huge innovations. So I hope we could be a partner, and we could invite those people into our journey so that we can support the really great project, innovating the future, plus enjoying the outcomes together.
Yeah, I think Cage has presented said that what we really want to say. Really, we're on our vision is really to democratize and disrupt the venture capital industry. VC is really about getting in early on the latest technology trends, the most popular technology trends. So we really just want to invite folks to come on board this journey with us and give it a go. And also, thank you so much to YGG and to Fallen for hosting this session for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Happy this came across my desk. Gabby has great words to say about you guys, and it's a little different than we're used to. Usually we feature games and talk about games, but I'm sure the community appreciates it. Again, this is a novel opportunity where you guys are using blockchain to give people that don't necessarily have the funds to usually get into VC the chance to do so. So I think that's exactly why Gabby sent this over our way to amplify to the community. And again, right, this is your opportunity, guys. If you've never dabbled in venture capital, this is your chance to do it and see where it goes. Again, there is no guarantees here, if anything, but the future is pretty bright, and it seems like you guys have a really good track record. So if people are willing to take that gamble, they should definitely look so. It's not often that Gabby vouches for stuff like this, and if he does, usually it turns out pretty good. So on that note, thank you so much, guys, for taking the time out of our day to kind of chat with the community about that. Like I said, we've got the forum posted in there in our Discord and so much. As you guys release more updates, we'll probably trickle that information out as well. So again, make sure you guys fill out that form if you are interested. Again, there is no commitment. Just if you want any additional information, or even if this just piqued your interest in the site, fill out that form so you can get more info, so your name's at least on that list. So as they figure out their social channels to get that out, that you are on there, so that you are up to date. And if you guys have any further questions, Shannon, Cage, I'm sure if somebody reaches out to me, I can just reach out back to you. Correct? So cool.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for you guys for joining, and we'll be in talks. Cheers.
Great. Thanks, Paul, and
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
And that concludes our stream for today. Thanks so much for everybody for joining. Again, you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself in the Discord, and we will catch you next week for another stream. Be on the lookout for that. I know a bunch of people were asking about Gap Season 9. We are still in the appeals process because we extended that. Season 9 is in the works, and it will come soon, so be on the lookout for announcements for that. We'll probably have more details in next week's stream. On that note, everybody have a good weekend, and together we play. Cheers.